Hi everybody. I thought since I talked about my mom's side of the family in the last family video, I thought I'd talk about my dad's side this time. And his parents were immigrants from, I'm not sure exactly where, it's somewhere in the area of Czechoslovakia. And as you probably know, during that time there was a lot of moving around of national boundaries and so on. I can tell you though that his parents were married over there and came over here in what they called steerage, which was the lowest level passage you could get on a ship. And I'm thinking it probably was below deck, I don't know, but it was evidently something really a horrible kind of thing. They were peasants in worked the land and essentially kind of like indentured servants over there. No land of their own, just working the land for the landowner. Came over here, and my grandfather got a job on the railroad, and that evidently worked out fairly well. I don't know what he did on the railroad, but my grandmother got sick. They had 7 children, and 5 boys and 2 girls. And my grandmother got sick and contracted the Spanish, what they call the Spanish flu, right around World War I time, and died of that. And so I never met her. I met my grandfather, but only about once. Things were rough growing up. Had essentially no money. My father had to quit school at the end of 7th grade and go to work in a silk mill that was about 30 miles from the house. And that was to help support his brothers and sisters. And he had, I think, he told me he would have like 15 cents spending money. All the rest went back to his father to support the family. So things were rough. Eventually, he got a job with the Civilian Conservation Corps. That was one of Roosevelt's planned activities during the Depression, to get people jobs doing tasks that had to be done. And a lot of things were accomplished by the Civilian Conservation Corps. Down here in Florida, they made the first state park, and in Virginia they made the Skyline Drive, the bridges for that. They made a lot of the post offices that were scattered around the country. A lot of great mason work and land clearing and so forth was done by the Civilian Conservation Corps. Kept a lot of people with some money. It was kind of like an army situation where people essentially lived on a base and had like military type discipline, and got pay for what they did, I guess, every week. Saved a lot of people from starving. Anyhow, after the Civilian Conservation Corps, he got a job working in a die casting place, company, and that worked out fairly well. At first he started, and with his 7th grade education, he was really a laborer to start out. But then he showed initiative, and my dad was bright. It was just too bad that he never had the opportunity to really get an education. He did go down to the University of Pennsylvania and took a course in chemistry and passed it with a C. I never saw his report card until after his death and went through his stuff. I don't think he would have ever wanted to admit that he didn't get less than an A. He was kind of a perfectionist, but at any rate, here's a guy with a 7th grade education that got a C in chemistry at the University of Pennsylvania. And anyhow, he was worked as a metallurgist in the lab, and what they would do is they would take a sample of the metal they were using for the casting, and it had to be of a certain composition, certain percent aluminum, certain percent bauxite, whatever the combinations were in this alloy. And he would use a spectrometer or spectrograph, and he would check and see what percentages were in that sample. If it didn't meet specification, then he would let them know, so they would have to amend whatever they did and stop casting, or I don't know what they did at that point if it didn't meet specification. Change the nature of the alloy to meet specs. I don't know. But anyhow, I would watch, I would go to his lab every once in a while and watch what he did. So he later developed emphysema, and I think it was probably because of the fumes and so forth in the lab. They used a lot of acid, sulfuric acid, in the checking things out. So I don't know. I had a feeling that that might have been behind that, because he wasn't a smoker. He never smoked. My dad continued in that job until eventually that company had cutbacks and he was laid off. So at that point he began selling cemetery lots. These were Memorial Park cemetery lots, and he did a great job at it, and he continued with that for the rest of his working life. Now, I'll give you a little idea. I think that the Depression and the circumstances you were in during the Depression had a lasting effect on people in their entire lives. He was extremely thoughtful, careful, planner. He would, if it was a major decision, he would never act immediately on it, have to think about it overnight. And this will give you a little idea of what was behind a future video I'm going to do about his first car. So I think you can see where this is going. But at any rate, he was always a great planner. Always had great expectations, and I certainly struggled to live up to them. But he was a great guy. And let's see some other things. He would be, I think, very uneasy if something came along that he couldn't control or plan for. And I think this was part of the surviving, the Depression and trying to plan everything out so you could survive. I'm thinking of a humorous incident where he was going to the airport. He's going to fly to Arizona to see if it could help him with his emphysema. And my aunt, who had that 48 Plymouth, as you may remember, she was taking the three of us, my dad, my mom, and me, to the airport. And because we didn't have a car at the time. And she said that she knew a shortcut. Well, my aunt was a kind of devil-may-care individual who was a fun, as I was telling you before, a fun person. And so she is driving along here in back roads on the way to the airport. And it's becoming clearer that I don't think she's all that familiar with this shortcut. And my dad is in the back of the car, and he's getting very nervous, and he's looking at his watch, and he is, I'm sure, having a fit internally about what's going on. Is she going to be able to find her way? Am I going to get to the plane on time? What's going to happen? And sure enough, she was able to find her way, and we did get to the airport, and he made his flight. So that worked out. But it was interesting to see someone who is used to controlling a lot of things, and suddenly in a situation where they're at the total mercy of somebody else. And it worked out, but it was something. Anyhow, the Arizona thing didn't really help him. He seemed to find relief in Florida, so he and my mom came down to Florida years ago, and that did give him some relief. But that gives you a little bit of an insight into my dad. As far as owning a car, he never owned a car until 1952. And he did drive before that, and I know he drove a truck for one of the places where he worked as a kid. And then he drove another car, and all I know is that there was an accident, and they never knew any more details about it. He never talked about it. Nobody ever talked about it. I don't know what the situation was. I don't know if he was badly hurt. I know he had problems with his eye, and I have a feeling that he might have injured that eye in that accident. But he was not what you would call a good driver, and he didn't particularly care for cars. So I think whatever that accident was, that shaded his feeling about cars. Never a fan of them. The biggest thing they could do for him was start on reliably. That was a big thing, but never really a fan of them. So I thought that might give you a little bit of an insight about that side of the family. That side of the family, his brothers and sisters, they've all passed away. His last sibling, sister, died a few months ago. So, well, thank you very much for watching, and I'm going to follow this up in maybe a week or so with a video of our experience in hunting down a car. Now, figure this is 1952. And I think some of you who have been watching a while know the car we got, but I don't think you really know the story behind it. So I'm going to try to give you the full details. So thanks a lot for watching.